everybody. Alex Newman here. We're at the Moment of Truth Summit, Mike Lindell's operation, and a lot of what's happening here is election fraud related, but I want to reintroduce you to Lynz Piper-Loomis. We actually interviewed her in McAllen, Texas. She was running for Congress in South Carolina at the time. Lynz, you have a new book coming out, and it sounded absolutely fascinating. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my book is called I'm Silent No More, and it takes the readers through my story of dying in a car accident with my mom, and God gave me a choice to come back and my encounter with him. And then I was actually trafficked through the Child Protective Services system, and I was put into domestic servitude for 3.5 years, or slavery, and sexually assaulted and raped for 3.5 years, and how I broke out of that, and then all the way to my journey running for Congress.
So CPS did this, you're saying. How did that happen? Who was involved? Walk us through that.
I didn't understand at the time. So we know that trafficking is the exchange of something or someone for profit. And what happens for me in my case was that all of the people that my mom had made arrangements for me to live with, everything just like disappeared. And so I was taken without having a foster care, not going to foster care, without a representative or an ad litem, no caseworker talking to me personally. I was taken across state lines, and I was put into a home without it. It was family, without it being basically checked out. And all of the resources that were supposed to be used were liquidated. They got all of the money, they drained it.
The family you were with?
Mm-hmm. Okay. They took everything. And I'm not going to tell about the states. In my book, I've protected people's identities, so privacy. But basically, there's an incentive for people, for children, to go through the Child Protective Services system. The state gets money that the federal government gives them. The families get money. It's like you're worth a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And
the drug companies get money when they start drugging you.
Well, yeah, and then just even placing them in the home. And so all of that disappeared. Everything was just taken away. I was put into this family member's bloodstained underwear and maternity clothes, and I became a slave in the home. So that was the exchange. And when I came forward 3.5 years later, I fled for my life, and I said, I can't do this anymore. It was the last rape encounter, and I went to my high school counselor and I said, I can't do this anymore. And so I escaped. I left, and it was a long journey, but here at almost 40, I'm free. God has made me completely free, of course, on the cross, but I'm an overcomer. And so the story talks about the steps that God used for me to overcome and how other people can overcome through all tragedy and trauma. So it wasn't like the movie Taken, but it's a very common thing. CPS is, they're doing this at the border through Catholic Charities, Methodist Charities. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
They are trafficking kids through the foster care system. I got a call a couple weeks ago about a child that is in foster care that is from another nation, Hispanic nation, 13 years of age, was raped at the border by the cartel, and has a 6 to 8 month old little child.
Oh, goodness.
And they're trying to put this child into another foster care, and we're paying for this. So, we really need to crack down. So my goal in launching another project to end trafficking is going to be to really end it. I can't talk too much about that, but anyway, that's kind of the story.
Yeah, I first came across this years ago. Senator Nancy Schaefer of Georgia was blowing the whistle about exactly what you talked about, the systematic taking of children and then trafficking them into homes where they were being sexually abused and pimping them out. Is this a systemic problem, or was your case kind of unique? Do you know anything about that?
It is a systemic problem. I actually know very well that area that you're talking about. I won't explain why, but it's interesting how much money is poured into each child. We have, if you look at the numbers, it's staggering. I don't have the stats with me right now, but millions of children disappear in the foster care system, and their bodies are never recovered. We have children whose bodies are being used for organ harvesting. They pump their bodies full, or they plug their bodies up with drugs until the body starts to decay, and then you find them floating in the Rio Grande. You've got children who are tattooed, marked, branded for what type of trafficking they're going to be sold to. And this isn't just Hispanic children. This is children from overseas, different nations. But one of the most common things that we don't even think about is the Afghan refugees that came over.
Yeah.
My state in South Carolina, as much as I am thankful for a Republican governor, he allowed Afghan refugees into our state, much like Nikki Haley. But some of those men have child brides. They consummated the marriages before they came over here. Those children were sold into slavery, and our nation just lets it happen. That is despicable. It's criminal. And so this whole thing is massive. It's one of the most, if not the most, profitable criminal enterprise in addition to drug trafficking that we have today.
So what do we do about it? It seems so huge. It's so in the shadows. A lot of people, you tell them about this, they say that can't possibly be happening, but it is happening. I know as well that it's happening. What do we do about it?
Well, education and awareness at the local level. You put pressure on them. I sat across from a federal judge. He got up and walked away from me. So he knows what's going on, right? His girlfriend, an attorney, she said, oh, that's not happening. I showed her my footage from the border of the rape trees. And so one of the areas that we really need to start talking about this is like, for example, the Center for Disease Control. They launched the Q-Chat space. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, where they connect the kids with LGBT things.
Educating children, but their parents also, on how the traffickers are preying on the vulnerabilities of our kids in their own home. What is trafficking? Defining that, defining grooming. Like what these school boards are doing, they're grooming our children. And then at the other end, you've got the traffickers and the Center for Disease Control that are preying on those vulnerabilities. So it starts out with education awareness. The church has got to get involved. And I mean, we could definitely agree on that. So it's going to be a lot of education and awareness, and then bringing people together to work against this, which I'll have more information on that at a later date. But
wonderful. We'll have to keep in touch. And how can people get the book?
So you'll be able to go to Amazon momentarily. It's called I'm Silent No More, or you can go to my website, www.lynzpiperloomis.com.
Okay, very good. We'll put that up on the screen. Lynz, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you. God bless.
God bless you too.